Bridge to Terabithia is set in rural Virginia in the mid-1970s. It is important to note that during this time, the social structure of this country was very unsettling. The Vietnam War was almost ending, the nation was becoming divided with war protest, the civil rights movements, and uncertain economic times. Bridge to Terabithia includes around 3 group characters: the Aarons, the Burks, and the students and teachers in the elementary school. Jess Aaron, who is one of the main characters, is the middle son and between 4 sisters. The 2 older sisters, Brenda and Ellie, are teenagers who are close to their mom and don't ever talk to Jess. His younger sisters, Joyce Ann and Maybelle, look up to Jess. Mrs. Aarons, Jess's mother, is really good at raising the children, working inside and outside the home and being the head of the household because of her husband, Mr. Aarons, is always away from home working in a closed city. Mrs. Aarons believes in the traditional household law that says men do men's work and women do women's work. So Jess doesn't have a lot of work when his dad isn't there. So he thinks he's the least favorite kid. The Burks have one daughter, Leslie, who moved to rural Virginia from Washington, D.C. They are very strict, like they don't watch any TV. I know this may seem weird for kids nowadays, but back then well-off families went back to basic lifestyles. Judy and Bill, Leslie's parents, are writers and spend most of their time doing their work. Leslie doesn't get much attention until the book that they are working on is done. Leslie is the kind of person that is always looking for friends. Lar Creek Elementary is a typical school. The school is overcrowded and the conditions are very bad. 2 teachers, Miss Edmonds and Mrs. Myers, are very important in this book. Miss Edmonds is a young music teacher who is very energetic and is kind of like Jess. She's very supportive of him. Mrs. Myers is an older teacher who appreciates Leslie's intelligence and talents. Gary Fulcher, who, like Jess, wants to be the fastest boy in the 5th grade, gets to not like Jess when he is forced to race Leslie, who beats him time and time again. Terabithia is a magical place in the woods where Jess and Leslie go to get away from day-to-day problems of life. In Terabithia, they can live in their imaginary world where everything is perfect. Jess is made king of the magical place, and Leslie is the queen. In order to get to Terabithia, they must rope swing across a creek bed. Doing these visits to Terabithia makes Jess and Leslie have great friendship. During the Easter break, it begins to rain extremely hard, and the creek becomes flooded. The rising water causes Jess to freak out, but Leslie continues to rope swing across the creek. Shortly, his music teacher invites him to spend a day in Washington, D.C. Leslie goes to Terabithia without him, and the rope breaks and she drowns. Jess returns home that night and finds out that Leslie is dead. Grieving, angry, and upset, Jess becomes very moody. Several days later, he goes back to Terabithia to place a funeral wreath in the castle for Leslie. He hears Mabel crying for help and realizes she has followed him to Terabithia. He rescues her from the creek and eventually takes her to Terabithia and makes her the new queen. Catherine Patterson was born in China in 1932. She was born on October 31st. She is American. She has won 2 Newbery medals. Her father was a principal at Sutton 690, a school for girls, and traveled throughout China as part of his missionary duties. The Wilmerdorf family lived in a Chinese neighborhood and immersed themselves in Chinese culture. When Catherine was 5 years old, the family was forced to leave China during the Japanese invasion of 1937. The family moved to Richmond, Virginia for a short while before returning to China to live in Shanghai. In 1940, the family was forced to flee again, this time to North Carolina. And then, I don't think the book should be challenged because I don't think it's a big deal just to be friends with teachers. And I think they learned their lesson to always stay together. I think that just parents should be able to ban books because it's like on the internet, and I don't think the authors would want that to happen. And so, in all, I don't think it should be challenged.
All right.